What is the punch that should have the most power but is thrown the least? At least in most cases. It is a rear hook. When I ask people, whether it be Zoom private or in-person private, what punch do you want to work on? What punch do you not throw that often? Are you not having success with? I'd say 90% of the time people go, you know what? For me, it's my rear hook. I'm not letting it go. And we're going to talk about why that is. We're going to talk about how to sharpen it up. But when you stop and you think about the mechanics of the body, many people have good success with their left hook. But off the back one, you should be able to generate more power. Your shoulder is further back, so you have more torque into it. Naturally, the right hand, for most of us, is the dominant arm. So why are we generating more power out of our weak arm as opposed to our back? I don't think in any way we are. We hit harder with this arm. But here's what causes most people to not want to let this arm go. They feel very open. They feel very vulnerable when they try to throw the right hook. They get countered and therefore they do not work it. Because when you think of body mechanics, when I throw my cross with no arm, when I throw my uppercut with no arm, there might be a bit of a bend, but still getting the shoulder in front. And when I throw the right hook, it's the exact same motion. Except for what this arm is doing. Does it come straight out or up or around? So what is the big reason that we're not letting this go? And this is a technique which you want to have in your arsenal, because you can very easy disguise with the jab and come way around. And whether the person has a tight guard, they're protecting the front of their head, that's fine. You go behind. If for some reason they're not protecting their head at all, yeah, you come to the chin. The reason that many people do not let this go is they feel far too exposed. Let's sort that out. Let's talk about why that is. When you are coming off the back arm versus the front arm, you're going to feel like, okay, the speed of this punch is a little bit slower than the lead hook. It's also going to be a little bit slower than a cross, because this is a direct line, whereas this one has to come a little bit more rounded, but the time is going to be such a fraction of a second, such a small difference, that there's no good reason, unless you are preloading this arm way out wide. That's a problem, because now a counter hook, counter jab, anything on this side is going to be completely open. This side should be covered up. If you're dropping over here as well, now of course you're going to be really compromised. So what I want you to focus on is actually something that we see Ilia Topuria, the new, UFC featherweight champion, beat Volkanovski, now just defended against Holloway. What we see him do when he throws is not come really rounded and really wide. And he has a dangerous hook. It's not way out here. He keeps this arm very tight to his head as he starts launching his shoulder forward, and then at the end, and only at the end, boom, does he open the punch up. So he's coming, and at the end he gets that little bit of boom, torque, and now this keeps him so much safer. So if I were a southpaw, just so you can see here, if I was a southpaw throwing off my back arm, instead of me coming out this direction, where there's so much time where anything down the middle here can come and strike me, I keep things a little tighter, a little sharper, and now from there, boom, I'm not going to have that same fear that I'm going to get countered so easy. And again, this arm, for most people, is going to be stronger than this arm. So we should have a little bit more power here. It's just going to be a matter of actually throwing the right hook more. Because if you've thrown this, let's say 10 times as many as you've thrown this, yeah, your technique, your speed, everything's going to be dialed in. So this may naturally feel more powerful right now. Give it a little bit of time, a little bit of training, and I think you'll get this one more powerful. Start throwing it and sparring a little bit. You're going to start actually landing it, build that confidence. And remember, there are many different ways to throw a right hook. Obviously, we can switch the levels, but even beyond that, we can come with thumb up, which will be fairly short. We can come thumb down, which allows us to start elongating the punch, even possibly coming behind the ear, but still landing with the knuckles. I can come here and come behind the ear. Again, keeping everything sharp, short, and maybe just with a little bit of a drop of the head, right? Get that head off the center line so you're not standing right in that zone where that straight punch can beat you. You throw your double jab, and then you just drop that head a little bit, elbow as high as the fist. Start playing around with the rear arm hook. I know many people are not a fan of it compared to their lead hook, maybe an uppercut, their straight punches for sure. But when you play with it and you open up your arsenal, it just makes it so much more difficult for your opponent. And again, probably the most powerful punch out there, like an overhand, right? If you ask somebody, what's the most powerful punch? They're probably gonna go, okay, I'll just forget about technique and I'll just, boom, wing through something like that. Well, it's not that different than the right hook. Just dropping a little bit instead of coming straight across. So you can create massive power, play around with this, and see if you can add it to your arsenal successfully.